Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another episode of One Degree of Scandalous with Cato Kalin and Tom Zenner.
Got to meet him. He's a great guy.
Cato, good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend.
Back in studio here at Action Park Media. There's a lot of action here.
Yeah.
Walk in here, we saw Sean Avery.
Sean Avery, of course.
Was he quizzing you about, was it Brian Trottier? What were you guys talking about?
Well, one of the people, I had a bunch of friends visiting me, and Charlie Nama was one of them, a hockey player, and I was telling him that he's great friends with Brian Trottier, and I couldn't think of his name. I said, oh, it's Brian Trotter. He was Cato, it's Trottier.
Okay, that is hilarious.
And then Kevin Conley, who owns Action Park Media, said, he's a god in Long Island. He's bigger than Billy Joel.
Do you understand that Connolly did a 30 for 30 on the New York Islanders? He loves the Islanders. If you go back and watch Entourage episodes, his office, when he was the manager, the last few seasons, he had an Islanders jersey hanging up in his office, Cato.
That is great.
Yeah.
That is
when
great.
I grew up, the Islanders, when you grew up, the Islanders were a big deal. They won every year. They won every single year, it seemed like. Did they win like 4 or 5 in a row?
I'm just now finally getting into hockey.
Okay.
Back then, I was just committed to Packers and Bucks and Brewers. So.
I wasn't into hockey. There was just nothing else to do where I grew up, so I absorbed all the sports.
Yeah.
You had no choice. Hey, looking forward to this episode. We have an amazing guest coming up. Let's not give away anything, but man, stick around, everybody, because this is going to be a compelling episode. Really insightful, an incredible conversation we're going to be having a little bit later, and somebody that goes way back with Cato and has something in common with Cato. So that's the tease you get.
Besides great hair.
True dat.
Yeah,
hey, it's awesome to be back here. Make sure you download and subscribe. Make sure you follow us on social media. Follow us on YouTube. Follow One Degree of Scandalous on YouTube, because we have daily shorts that are going up every day. Gives you a nice little taste and flavor of the show. But we're excited for 2023 and everything that's going to be happening here. So let's talk about a couple of the big news stories.
I'm just glad you're wearing shorts. I don't care if they're daily. Hopefully they're daily. You're changing at least daily. I mean, who doesn't like daily shorts?
You know what? That was what I said for 2023. I'm wearing shorts.
That was your favorite group in the 80s, wasn't that Skid Marks or Skid Row? I forget. I get them confused.
Hey, I'm talking about following us on social media.
You know, I had a bunch of friends visiting for almost 6 days, and for them, I was the designated driver. It was a drunk fest.
Right.
I had I'm telling you, I had no rest. I have guys from the East Coast. The time zone's different, but they still went out till at least 2 or 3 in the morning, but got up at 6 a.m. and would wake me up, and they're staying at my place.
Cato, I met them. I'm surprised that they took 2 hours off, to be honest with you.
I am telling you, it was amazing.
Are you
amazing
the only
fun.
person from Wisconsin that doesn't drink?
You know, I'm not a beer. I don't know. I just don't. I get migraines. I'm a migraine sufferer, so drinking it's not the best for me.
That's not good.
And another friend of mine there wasn't drinking either.
Okay. Well, they have the best designated driver in the world.
Yeah,
keeping everybody entertained.
I'll tell you what, we rented a van. So we all had 8 of us in there, and we went everywhere in this van. It was just, honestly, God, it's just, I love life. It was so much fun.
Oh, that's good. And now they're off. They're safely off back home.
I don't care. It's probably the car now.
You're done with them. Let them know.
They're hanging out at Hertz or Enterprise right now. They're still in the van.
Okay, so 2 big stories. This is kind of funny and just weird. So Sean Payton signs with the Denver Broncos.
Your neighbor.
My next door neighbor. I saw him Sunday night after the game. And Sean Payton is such a cool guy. Man, I was kind of hoping he was going to go take that Cardinals job just because I still have a lot of friends in Phoenix and kind of root for the Cardinals on the side. My son, Dash, loves the Cardinals. And I saw him Sunday night after the championships games, and I'm going, what do you think? How was Phoenix? Blah, blah, blah. You could just tell something was brewing. He had something on his mind. And then yesterday, Shonda was pulling out of the driveway. She was leaving the house, and Sean's outside. She goes, hey, anything new? Anything happy? He goes, I think today might be the day.
Oh, wow.
So we had that little scoop.
So he's out of the house. So he's gone there? Does he keep the house?
No, he was renting that house.
It's just he was a short time neighbor. And
hey, I can tell you this from being his neighbor. He wanted the Chargers job. And, you know, I think he wanted it. Who won it, right? With the quarterback that they had. But they didn't fire their coach, so that job wasn't available.
Yeah.
And then I think he had to just figure out what the best option was. I think he went with Denver. I mean, those are the Waltons the Walmart family, the Waltons that own that. So maybe he could squeeze him for about $20 million a year or whatever. But he's off. And then Tom Brady. I knew about that early this morning, too, because one of my business partners is one of Tom's guys. So I had the 2 scoops. If only I had a way to
so great.
Reveal it.
I like the way Brady did it because I retired yesterday. Just replay that tape from yesterday because he retired. He retired February 1st of last year. Mm-hmm. Same day, so it's just the same thing. So he kept it short and sweet, which is great.
I was looking at this story on page 6 to see what Giselle has to say about the whole thing. It's weird because if he told her last year, give me one more season, just one, I wonder if they would have. There had to be more to break up that marriage than just Tom Brady going back to play.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? I mean, she seems like she's pretty tight with that jiu-jitsu teacher now. maybe that was already in the works. Who knows? Here's what she wrote on Instagram. Wishing you only wonderful things in this new chapter of your life. That looks like ChatGPT wrote that or something. Could that be more impersonal?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what are you going to say? They just got
Chapter
divorced.
of your life. That's
I mean,
terrible.
come on. Anyway, I guess what do you do?
Jeez, I hope it's not chapter 11. Oh, no, he's got a great deal.
Yeah, well, he's going to Fox. That's
Yeah.
interesting. By the way, and we don't have to get deep in this, but I was watching the football games. Tony Romo, have you heard the comments about him? I thought
They're
he was
getting negative. I like Tony, but
I like him too, but he has had some bad games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what's going on with him. I just don't think he's preparing. I don't think he's doing a damn thing to get. And all he's doing is screaming right now. But anyway, what about you?
He's a Wisconsin boy, so I like him a lot.
That's true. And then he went to what? Eastern Illinois.
Yep.
Is that where a lot of people went to Eastern Illinois. A lot. I think Andy Reid did.
And it's funny.
I think Sean Payton did.
It's funny because today I saw that Aaron Rodgers posted it. He just went into a golf shop at TaylorMade, and he just said, "You guys ready?" So you show him. They're making him a driver. So it's a quick 30-second video of them actually making a custom driver, and then he goes out and hits the ball. But you know what's funny is that these guys are so rich, the money they don't. The season's over, they go right out and golf. And
Well,
have
they need to
fun.
take a break. Think about that grind. So that's why I
Oh
was
no,
thinking of Sean too.
it's great, but I'm saying what a great life.
Yeah, that's true, right? They don't have too much to worry about
300
now.
million,
But
and you go golf
Cato,
and-
so I was talking to Sean, and he loves living in L.A. He loves Manhattan Beach. It's just, think about it. He was in New Orleans for 15 years, right? And you come down there, and you can walk to the beach. He's got these two big dogs. Always had the biggest smile on his face. And I'm just thinking, God, you got to go get into that grind. 16-hour days. Now, granted, you do 5 more years, you're done. You don't have to do anything, bank another $100 million.
Right.
And that's how these guys are wired. But he was liking the lifestyle. I think it was going to be a little bit difficult to pack it up and move.
Yeah, the odds are they came out. The odds before Sean Payton was the coach of the Denver Broncos. It was 40-1 Super Bowl. After they hired him, it stayed 40-1.
That's funny.
Yeah,
For real?
it really did.
Well, it's because of
it
Russell
did.
Wilson. I mean, who would want to inherit that?
I don't.
What
see.
what a mess. By the way, his wife is not even a big star. They keep acting like Sierra is like something. She's nothing. They throw her a bone every once in a while and let her help out on like the New Year's countdown with nobody watches.
Is she?
And what has she done to make her? What is she, a singer? Is she an actress? Is she a? What is she?
I thought she's a soda.
She has one name.
Isn't Sierra Mist? Isn't that her? No, I have no idea.
I think
I'm getting laughs
I
here.
think a soda
I'm
can
getting,
has more
I'm getting laughs
personality.
from our guest that's on a camera. That's all I care about.
All right,
I'm getting
that's
laughs.
our cue
You
to
got,
bring her in.
You got a football cue. That's another cue. Another football guy. That was Tom. You're going to do the intro because I
will.
This is 28 years, I think.
Okay, so just let facts be facts. I am fascinated just with the whole OJ thing, and just because the 90s were a special time, I thought, and this has nothing to do with the murders or anything, but I'm in the media, I'm in pop culture. It combined and I had a history with OJ. It's crazy. So did I ever tell you? So when I set the all-time junior college football record, he called me. I broke his record. I was in the Palms the night he got arrested. He was trying to crash our party. I used to see him all the time because I worked for NBC. He worked for NBC Sports. Marsha Clark had this show on ABC called The Fix, and I played a television reporter, an obnoxious television reporter. So it's and then of
you're
course
6
you and me.
degrees. You're the
so
6
it's you and
degree.
me. So Cato reached out to me a few weeks ago. We were just texting each other, and he said, "Hey, I ran into somebody. Had you met her before?"
No.
Okay.
No.
He
This is
met
all for-
somebody who he knew who she was.
No,
obviously.
I was on Instagram.
Okay.
I said, okay, this got to be Jill. I
Yeah.
won't say the name yet. So I was like, oh, I think this would be a great guest. And I took a chance and I texted, said, you'd be phenomenal on our 1 Degree Scandalous show. And then you've talked to her.
Yep.
And
I had to sell her a little bit. Had to convince her.
I think it's going to be, like I said,
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. I kind of gave her the package deal. She could bring her daughter, come meet Kevin Connolly. Her daughter's a big Entourage fan. We're going to give you a rain check on that. But let me introduce Jill Shively. Jill, welcome to 1 Degree of Scandalous. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And we're going to get into everything about Jill's life, but her claim to fame is on June 12th, 1994, in the Brentwood, she, at about 10:45 p.m. that night, drove right past O.J. Simpson as he was leaving an address around Bundy. So she was there. She was involved in the whole thing. She was an eyewitness to O.J. allegedly leaving the murder scene and then never made it to the trial. So we're going to talk a lot about that. But Jill, welcome. Thanks so much for joining
you.
us.
Thanks for
What's your
having me.
day job? You're in the insurance business. Is that what you're doing?
I am. I'm
Okay.
a claims adjuster.
Okay.
So I'm in the insurance business. Been in it for a long time.
Cato, a Midwesterner just like us.
I know that. Yeah, you got the accent going. Got Indiana and Wisconsin. I like it. Can you mention the company you work with?
Mercury.
Mercury Insurance,
Yeah.
they rep me in talent. No, it's a different
Hey,
agent.
Mercury, give Jill a raise. She deserves it.
Yes.
I do.
All right, so you're here with us today. Thank you so much. And you two had never met?
I met him in passing.
Okay.
I saw him leaving, and as I was coming in, I think it had to be around the grand jury time.
Oh, you talking
Yeah.
about in the courthouse?
It had to be. I
Okay.
remember.
And I could have, but then again, I didn't know who Jill Shively
Yeah.
was.
Right.
And maybe you didn't know who I was, but yeah, we
Yeah.
walked by. But I don't. I was telling Jill earlier. I said I don't remember ever meeting, and
Right.
And but I'm fascinated with Jill's story because if I can go into a quick question here,
Yeah.
I don't know what it matters that someone, if you sold something with incredible evidence, with eyewitness, and you saw something. What would that matter? I think it's so important that you are there at that timeline. And can you walk us through, like what happened when you obviously met with detectives?
Right.
They're going to be questioning you. So go if you can.
Sure.
Go through that.
Well, what sticks in my brain every day, because I relive it a lot, is I was driving east on San Vicente with my helm around 340. When I get to Bundy and on near there is a car comes flying, a white Bronco comes flying, coming from Nicole, coming from Wilshire, heading up there, almost runs into me. There's a school right there. So he misses me, but he swerves up onto a median. And there were lights were off. I got the license plate number. I remember it to this day, 3CWZ788. Never can forget it. Called the cops, turned him in as a drunk driver. So that's when the police started coming at me. They said, well, you gave us the right license plate number, and do you know who it was registered to? I go, no, I remember being a football player. We had just seen Naked Gun 33.5. I was thinking it was Marcus Allen, so that's how he got into there. So he was upset about that. But so I remember thinking this jerk, drinking and driving, I had a small bug. He had a large SUV, almost took me out. And so I reported him as a drunk driver around before midnight. And the next morning I had everything hit me.
Wow. So that's when the story broke. Obviously, the whole world knew the next morning. I remember exactly where I was when I heard the reports. I was driving on Camelback in Phoenix. I heard the news report, murder at the home of O.J. Simpson's ex-wife. And I'm going, that's kind of weird. I think this one might have some legs.
So you got the license plate number. That means you're very close to the car.
Exactly.
I mean,
I could see it.
In my mind, I'm going, I know the area. So you're by the school. You're east on San Vicente. He's coming up from Wilshire by Bundy. So how are you getting the front license plate?
The back.
You're getting the back.
He pulled it. He missed me and went up onto the median. I went by him. I'm looking at the tail, kind of catty corner. I'm looking at the tail end of the car.
So his car stopped right now, then, right?
It stopped,
And
yeah.
then that's how you could, okay.
He had to stop to back off the median to go around another car. I remember it was like a gray car blocking his way for him to get through. So he had to go back off the median. They kind of jogged around. The guy moved back. He moved forward. They jogged it 2 or 3 times, and OJ went flying around the corner at Bundy.
And at that time, you don't know who it is, and you're just kind of pissed, like, this guy almost hit me. He says, drunk driver.
Yeah, I thought it was like, self-entitled, brat or something, Brentwood brat.
And then, so that you called immediately for a drunk driver, right?
It was before midnight, and I remember calling in West LA Division. They sent police out the next day, right away, like 7 a.m. in the morning
To you.
to me.
To talk about the drunk driving report, because by then the reports probably hadn't come out. I think they came out around 11 in the morning.
Exactly. So they came out.
Okay.
And my mom called me to tell me, hey, there's been a murder. And I'm like, whoa. And so then I kind of put 2 and 2 together. And then they met with me that day at some point. And I'm like, gave them the license. They said, well, license plate that, that was OJ's. Did you recognize him? I said, well, I recognize as a football player.
You recognize the driver, you mean?
Yeah, the
You
driver.
saw the driver.
I saw the driver. I remember he had they asked me, would he have long sleeves on? I said, no, I remember him having short sleeve, dark shirt, t-shirt, and
He's the juice. Everybody, would probably register. Jill, what was? It had to be incredible. The night before, boom, you see him leaving the murder scene. I mean, unbelievable. You report a drunken driver. The next morning, your mom tells you about the news reports. Was that just an incredible aha moment? And you're going, holy crap! Let me put 2 and 2 together here. O.J. Simpson's ex-wife murder. I saw him at about 10:45 last night. Did you call the police back then and say, let me change? I have a little bit more information for you?
No, because they called me, were coming to me right away, wanted to meet with me right away that day.
Because of that reason. They
Because of that
know
reason.
you don't know. They're coming to meet you because OJ's a suspect, and they're going to talk to you about what you saw.
Right.
And you don't know anything. I mean, in your mind, because your mom talked to you, you're thinking, I think I witnessed this.
She was actually scared, and she got me scared. I'm thinking, wow, I actually witnessed more than I had thought I had witnessed. And I said, well, I don't have much information. Here's what I have. And they're like, no, that's really important. And da-da-da-da-da. I think then Phil Vanatter came out, talked to me.
Yeah.
Then you know it's serious when the
Yeah.
big boys are coming out.
Yeah. So,
And you're talking to Phil Vanatter, and when Phil's talking to you, he sees you as credible, and he's thinking, we've got a great witness, correct?
correct. He said, I ran a background check on you. You don't even have a parking ticket.
Yeah.
I'm like, so
Wow.
I'm like, and actually what happened was he said, well, you turned the license plate number that night, and no one had known about that license plate number till a day or so after.
What's interesting is I don't know how forensics and the sophistication of evidence gathering was back then, but if he pulled up on that median because he was so frantic leaving the murder scene, there could have been some residue. There could have been tire tracks. There could have been some grass. If they had grasped this a little bit more seriously, who knows? They could have maybe actually put him there.
Or a tire mark or something.
I think they did do that though.
Okay.
I think they have 150 detectives, most ever in the case of any murder case in L.A. I think that's normal that they would do that because even back before the 94, they would do that in different cases. So I imagine they did that, and maybe that was some of the evidence that was thrown out.
But I even heard that they even found the other driver, the gray, like a Nissan or something like that. They even spoke to him, verified that had happened, but he didn't know who it was at the time. So,
But he verified that it did happen.
yeah, Phil told me he verified that.
Gosh, think about it, you guys. Every intersection has cameras now. I mean, it would pick you up going through there for sure. Somebody would have seen it. Okay, so let's advance it a little bit, okay, just to the next part of the story. And you're saying to yourself, okay, why was an OJ convicted? And the backstory, of course, is because of an interview you granted with, was it Access? No, it was Hard Copy, right? So, Jill, how soon after the murders and before the trial, what was the timeline for the interview that you did with Hard Copy?
I remember it was before the grand jury. And I was kind of suckered into it. They said, hey, a guy with the knife, Jose Camacho, is talking to us. Everyone's talking to us. It's okay. We okayed it with the DA. I'm like, oh, okay. So I did it, and it was the biggest mistake. So, yeah, I did it. It was before the grand jury because then during the grand jury, they asked me about it, and then they had to, Marsha Clark flipped out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she didn't know? And so the point being that just because of that, they're saying that makes you not a valuable witness anymore because you sold a story?
Because I sold and she wanted to make an example out of me. She told my attorney this, and Phil. My attorney and Phil played football together in high school, so they knew each other. So she told him, I'm going to make an example. No one should be able to do this. And I have enough circumstantial evidence anyways. I just slam dunk.
Wow.
And I'm like,
how
okay.
arrogant. Literally, that was part of the problem. She thought she was going to win this case. It didn't need you. You were served up. I mean, it's not illegal to do an interview. That doesn't mean you can't testify in court. She could have used
But
your
on the other
testimony.
side of the coin, she yelled at me and goes, you blew my case. I'm like, so which is it?
She yelled at you in her office or
Yeah,
in front
she
of
called me to yell at me. I think I forget the guy's name that picked me up, but he picked me up in my car. You got to talk to Marsha, and she yelled at me, "You blew my case." And then David Kahn came in and said, "No, no, no," and he was vouching for me. He goes, "No, we got to use her." So and he was gonna be the one to try the case, but then he got bumped off that case. He actually won the. What do you call it? The Menendez brothers case.
Wow. Okay. It's interesting because when she saw the trial slipping away, when things were going south for her, although maybe till the end she thought she was going to win, could she have still called you in as a witness, or did that witness list have to be presented to the judge and to everybody like well in advance?
I have no idea.
I think she can. I think she can be called in.
Yeah, at any
because
time.
LA Law, man. I used to watch that all the time. It's something Artie Becker would have done it.
Yeah, because they're aware of who you are. You're not a surprise witness.
Well, she did ask me. She goes, "Well, now don't talk to anybody else." And I tried to redeem myself. I said, "Okay, I won't take the money, everything I could to redeem my credibility." And I didn't do it. It turned down tons of other opportunities at that time, thinking, okay, well, don't do any more. I'm like, okay.
It's a tough situation for you to be in. I mean, you didn't grow up here in LA. You're not used to this kind of crazy stuff. You're involved in this, and they offer you what, $5,000 to do the interview, and they can be so persistent when you're dealing with producers for scandal type shows like that. They are all over you. It's hard to say no. Did you regret it quickly after, or maybe after the verdict? That's when you thought, I wish I didn't do this.
Oh no, I quickly regretted it, because what threw me was when they came out to talk to me, it was two other officers, and I can't remember the guy's name, but they said, no one knows no one knows you've talked to us. No one has the reports, so no one knows who you are as a witness. And right the next day, I'm getting all these calls, and they were saying, well, no, they okayed it. So I thought, well, how would they know who I am? How do they know where to come to? So no, I regretted it right away. I mean, I'm like, wow, I was ignorant on the whole thing. I'm like, $5,000 is not a lot of money. I'm like, why did I do that? I felt like I've always regretted it. I felt like I blew the reason why I had to have been there. And I gave them the license plate number. I thought that meant something, I thought, well, how would I have known? And I knew it before the plate was exposed. That's what Venatri and some other officer told me. He might have been lying too.
Yeah. So when you're driving and you saw the Bronco and OJ and hits the median and all that, so you report it and then you just go home, right? And thinking nothing of it and go to bed until the next morning with your mother.
I went to I was actually not feeling well. I went to, there used to be a Westwood Hoe Market right there in San Vicente, and I think they changed it to something else.
Lots of hoes in Westwood. Tom, back me up.
This is Brentwood Hoe. No.
Brentwood Hoe, but on the way to Westwood.
So I went there, and it was actually, I missed it. I didn't get to go in. It was about almost 11, so I came back home, went home, stewing like what do I do? I remember calling the inn before midnight, this number. I said, I just want to report a drunk driver. They took a report, and I said, okay. Almost hit me. They asked me, are you injured? No, I wasn't injured. Yeah. She didn't seem to take it too seriously. Said, well, here's a license plate number. The next thing I know, I'm getting all these calls from the police officers and coming to my home without even calling me, actually.
Right. So for me, I don't know if this has happened to you, but that night that it happened, the entire night for me, I before it happened, I had this eerie feeling in me. I don't know if it was because it was that June gloom, but I had this strange feeling about the night. Something was just off. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Did anything feel strange to you that would happen? Or it was just another night? Okay, I almost got hit by a drunk driver. Or did you?
Beforehand, you mean? Beforehand?
Well, now from that moment to you waking up.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have, because something happened in my being, it's like, something's strange about this night.
I felt it stick to my stomach. Something didn't feel right. And he had his lights off, lights were off. That's one thing that bugged me about. They did this documentary on him, the series, and they showed him coming down the street with his lights on, and they had me and Swolsey in my car.
Oh, you're talking about the FX show?
Yeah. And the lights were off. I asked the Scott guy, Alexander, so why did you do that? He goes, just for dramatics. I said, yeah, but he didn't have his lights on when he came through the intersection.
That's totally dangerous. I mean, 10:45 at night. I know it's June where it stays light. I mean, he did that intentionally.
Yeah, I was going to say,
clearly.
He's not going to be seen.
Or he's scared and forgot. But there's a big gas station right there on the corner. It has all lit up. So it did illuminate. I remember the shiny rims on his car. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to capture the license plate number. I remember writing it down. I had 3CWZ78, but I had the 3 C and the Z goof turned around, and I said, no, but I think it's this. And so I gave it to the lady, and then she's, okay, I'll take it. And next thing I know, I'm getting all these calls and all these people coming at
just
my
the
door.
fact that you have the wherewithal to have a pen to get it, because you got to be really quick with that to write a number.
Well, I had a notepad in my thing for the groceries, and I just wrote it on there. Or actually, and I wrote it on a card too. I remember I wrote it on a card. I'm like, I was kind of angry. I'm like, I'm a single parent. I was taking care of my daughter. This guy came flying around the corner.
No, I get it. Just like,
how about the fact that I'm sitting in the room with the person that saw OJ leave the crime scene and then where he went next? Yeah. It's really incredible. Wow. I mean, to think of you two just being in here. I mean, it's mind-boggling. The Sunday night when this happened, was that an odd path for you to take where you could drive by him? Were you doing something out of the ordinary? Was it a strange errand you were running? Were you going out to dinner or coming back? What brought you there at 10:45 at night?
I was just trying to get to Westward Ho, the store. San Vicente was my normal route to go anywhere to Brentwood. So I went there a lot. I didn't live too far from there. So that was my normal route to go to the store or shops, restaurants, anywhere.
Okay.
Westwood.
Normal path.
Did you, because you didn't testify, did people understand why you didn't testify, and did you get any hate for that?
I got hate. I got hate, and it was really weird because people were angry that I even came forward and talked bad about OJ. And so I got people were angry that, hey, you blew the case. You could have helped out. And then I got the other side. Hey, Marsha Clark didn't know what she was doing. So she blew the case. You know, we talked to, I think we have a mutual friend, Jim Murray. He helped me a lot through all that, kind of like my counselor. So he's like, Jill, it wasn't your fault. Because I've always felt bad. I even talked to Tanya Brown about it and Kim. And they're like, yeah, you know, Marsha's the one that blew it, not you.
Yeah, I'm actually just blown away that this. I always said that before I even knew. I said Jill Shively is. I think she's one of the most important people they should talk to, regardless of anything. It's like it's too. You seeing this, it's just so important.
Yeah.
At that timeline.
Yeah, and you know, Marsha Clark's job is to bring people like you into court and try to win the case. It just kind of defines her, how she tried to blame you, scream at you. You look, no one asked for that. Did you have to forgive yourself and say, look, I had nothing to do with this. I was trying to be a good citizen. It was their choice not to use me. Are you cool with everything now?
Well, kind of, sort of. But I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, you know, like Vincent Bugliosi, he wrote a book about it, and say, Jill, I want you to know that I investigated you. Everything was solid about you. I would have used you. So people have reached out to me to kind of convince me I'm okay. But I'm like, well, you know, I feel like here's a murderer running around, and maybe I could have helped, maybe I couldn't, but I felt like I didn't do what I needed to be doing.
You know, sometimes you got to just, if you're have faith or a Christian, you got to trust God in these situations, because had you testified, just think what that defense would have done to you. I mean, they could have dug so deep and fabricated. I mean, they were out to kill. I mean, not figuratively or not literally, but you know what I mean? They were taking no prisoners in that courtroom, and you never know what could have happened. I mean, there's no guarantee if you testified it would have changed the outcome.
I think the defense would have had a tough time with Jill because obviously, like Venato said, he checked you out. You're honest, and I think that you would have been such an asset to the prosecution. The defense would have lost it with you.
But let me take this one step further. Agreeing with you.
Yeah.
You're dangerous to them.
Yeah, well, I got
to the defense.
To the defense. You're dangerous. You could have been the one.
100%. That's what I'm saying.
I had people come to my door, and they say they were from the defense. It was two guys, and they offered me money to go away on vacation. So I'm like, okay, what's this about? I wasn't going to take any more money.
Did they use the word permanent?
No. No, they said, hey, you know, it's going to be rough, and they were trying to intimidate me, and I remember my mom being there.
Who are they?
Two guys. They said they were from the defense.
Think about it, man.
Oh, yeah.
Cato, who knows, right?
Oh, yeah. Because I was, you know, I had so many private investigators.
Yes, it was a private investigator.
Or a so-called private investigator, right?
Yeah.
When they ask you what size cement shoes you wear, it's not a good sign.
No. And, you know, they used to harass us at my daughter's school. I mean, it was a lot of stuff. And my mom I remember trying to put my daughter to bed one night, and there was this guy has a camera looking in our window, bedroom window. It was a lot of negative
everybody
stuff.
connected has crazy stories.
Yeah.
Like Cato, we could do a volume on them.
Jill mentioned a name that one person, you know, I became good friends with Jim Murray, but I became friends with Vincent Bugliosi, who did the Charles Manson.
By the way, let's get Jim Murray on the show. He'd be great.
Yeah, definitely.
Jim's a good guy.
Yeah.
Bugliosi did Helter Skelter.
Of course, Bugliosi's a legend.
People don't know that. He wrote a book also on the trial, and then when I had met him at a party, he just came up to me, hugged me, he goes, the way that Marsha Clark used you is the worst way. You were so important, and I just wanted to say God bless you. And I was like, oh, it was so cathartic for me to hear this from someone that's so respected. It's like, you made me feel...
Especially the way your life had been turned upside down.
Yeah,
to have somebody that's credible.
He made me feel so
And that's what he
good.
did to me. He reached out to me and wrote something in the book about it. He says, like, Marsha did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. It's because I guess he had heard that I felt so bad about it, and I feel like I helped him get away.
What was it like? You're from Indiana, right?
Yeah.
You're from I would assume not a big town in Indiana. They had to know who you were, what happened out here. What's it like going back there? Are you still kind of famous, infamous out there? I mean, do they all remember you from this?
Not ever. It's died down a lot now, but going back there, when I did go back, they were like, want to ask me questions about it, and And I'm like, well, is this and that? And they go, wow. But to me, it was very difficult to talk about because 2 people were murdered.
Yeah.
And my older sister, we lost her in August of that same year to a domestic violence situation. So it was like, to me, I felt like I took blood money and I didn't feel really good about it at all.
Sure.
We even had a reporter follow us. We were looking for my sister. They found her for 45 minutes. The boyfriend was with her. They took him to lunch to try to ask him questions about me, well, let alone, and then while my sister's down there dying, he had just beat her up. So, I mean, it's a lot of negative.
And all happening at the same time. Please
connotation.
tell me he's in jail or he got convicted.
I don't know. We don't know what happened. It was up in Lancaster area. So, yeah. And so this guy thought he could get the information from him via my sister about me. He didn't realize she had been down there. 45 minutes later, he was treating the guy to lunch. He says, "You look hungry." He goes, "Oh, my God, I forgot my my girlfriend's down there." But by that time...
Down there, meaning what? Being down...
Down in some canyon, they lost her. He lost her, so they were airlifted her out. So yeah, but then she was so beaten up we couldn't even identify her.
She was dead in the canyon.
She was still alive then, very combative. They were trying to give her oxygen, but she ended up passing away at the hospital. But because by that 45 minutes later, after she'd been down there, 110-degree heat, not being able to breathe, broken nose, she was so banged up we couldn't recognize her.
And he beat her and threw her down, and we don't know. You don't know.
We don't know.
He's out. You don't know if he's in prison or anything, huh?
No, they don't. They couldn't pin the murder on anybody, right? Is that what you're saying?
We never found out. They arrested him. I remember his name was Jerry Sikorsky, but we don't know what happened or what they did because my mom was just too frail to deal with it. Wow. Yeah. So that so it was just too much all at one time.
I got a question for both of you. You were both featured in the big show on FX, The People versus O.J. Simpson. What'd you think of the actors that portrayed you, and did they get anything right? You had a big actor.
Yeah.
That was in the latest James Bond movie.
Yeah, Billy Magnuson from No Time to Die and all that. But I had his dear friend came out and did a whole story on me, and I was just surprised that he didn't reach out to me until I saw him do an interview, and he couldn't have been more gracious and everything, and he made his choice.
Sure.
Kind of that thing. So, and by the way, I didn't care. I was just like, great for him, and they portrayed me as the surfer guy.
Right. And Jill, that was 2016. And did it relive some bad memories for you? Did you watch it?
I watched it. Romy Rosemont played me, and she was a little over dramatic. And I asked her about it afterwards. I was like, "Well, you should have asked me how." She goes, "Yeah, I was, but they wanted certain things to be portrayed certain ways." But she was really nice too. She was like, I tried to do the best But they wanted her to overreact.
Yeah, and I had the screeners beforehand, and I got a job with the New York Daily News, and I got to write before they came out, I got the week before of every screener. So it turned out from one article to write. They loved it. They gave me all 10, and it was like the best thing cathartic for me. It was just you can still go online.
I'm going to go back and read it. Were you an actual critic, or did you bring your humor into it, or what'd you do?
Completely, yes.
Okay. Then I got to go back and see
By
it.
episode 3, the headline was, "There's too much Cato even for Cato."
Yeah. So wasn't that the
overload.
Jeff Toobin book based on his book?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had really supported me, become friends with me too. He was actually a good guy.
His new book now is a handbook. I'm kidding.
Oh yeah.
Do not accept a Zune invite from me. Do not accept a Zune invite.
I love aha.
Wow. I would assume if that license plate number of O.J. Simpson in the white Bronco leaving the murder scene on June 12th is emblazoned in your mind, you'll never forget that. Do you remember the interview with Hard Copy? Do you remember the questions, where you did it, what you answered, how long it went? Can you bring us back to that moment?
Yeah, where were you at? Were you in the studio?
They actually picked me up. I went to the studio somewhere. I think it might have been Paramount, wherever they were filming. It went by with a blur, and they were just like pelting me with questions. And one of the things I remember, they wanted me to show my grand jury subpoena. So they had a picture of that. But I remember it lasted like 15 minutes, and I was out of there. I was just like,
in and out, huh?
That was it, really quick. That was.
And they kept trying to offer me more money, do this and this and that. And when more, I'm like, no. I wanted out.
Who was the interviewer?
Maybe someone named Linda Blackstone. Linda, I think. I'm not sure. They're not even around anymore. But It was a blur, and it was like so fast, and then I didn't feel uncomfortable. I felt comfortable, and I'm like, I just gotta go.
Yeah.
And I left. So they took whatever they could with me at that time, and then they put it all over everywhere.
Sure. Did you watch it? Did you watch the hard copy episode that you were on?
I did not.
Okay. Have you seen it since then?
No.
Never have, huh? So you don't know how they portrayed you, because you never know. Once they get their hands on you, they can take that any direction.
Exactly. I don't know. I didn't want to watch it. I didn't care at that point because
Well, you didn't want to watch it because you're sitting there and you just felt miserable. Like, this is not right.
yeah, I didn't feel comfortable. I said something's not right. Not what they told me.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, something's not right. And actually, they had a copy of my grand jury subpoena, which they got it, I do not know. So then they tried to say I gave it to them. Well, it seemed like everyone knew everything.
Yeah.
I had media at my door, camped at my door 24/7.
So, and I remember being a separate time than Jill. Tom, I was at the grand jury, and I'll never forget that because you always, I've never been in a courthouse in my entire life. The first time it's for the Simpson trial. So I'm at the grand jury, and I was like, these people were like wearing fishing hats, and it was just regular. I was going, this is the grand
Right,
jury.
'cause these are just
you
common
hear the
people
word
off the street, right?
grand
Yeah.
jury, you're
Thinking
thinking
elegant.
wow,
Wow, the opulence here. This is amazing.
Yeah, it was just
Right.
it was just like people off the street.
Sure. Go to the DMV, pick up a few people. Hey, do you mind? We'll pay you $15.
Exactly.
There's a Dateline special. I haven't seen it, but I'm going to look it up. It's called What the Jury Never Saw. You probably know about this because of your personal relationship with Lang and Van Natter. But one of the other witnesses that could have, really helped the prosecution was this guy. His last name was Skip Junis.
Yes, I know of
Okay,
him.
so he saw OJ at the airport. Ready, so
Dump
after
it-
you
dump
saw
it-
him,
dump in the bag.
after you heard him go over the wall, this is all within an hour. This is incredible. He goes to the airport, gets the limo ride there, and he had that bag. It was probably that Louis Vuitton bag, I would assume. And Junis
No,
says that
I think it's the nap at the
Yeah, okay, sure.
Louis Vuitton was the one Robert Kardashian had.
that's
on
right.
his shoulder.
The garment
Yeah.
bag. So he unzips a little bit of the bottom of it just to get some items out of that, dumps them in the trash can at LAX,
Right.
and on his way. And this guy Junis saw it all, and they didn't want to talk to him. Unbelievable.
And they didn't do anything to preserve what was thrown out. So I mean, like, yeah.
They think that's where the knife might have been.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah,
It's
it
bizarre.
had to be somewhere from Brentwood, from Rockingham to LAX, because he wasn't taking that thing to
Yeah.
Chicago, and there was nobody there that could get rid of it because that became a crime scene pretty quickly
Yeah.
that next morning. So LAX is the only thing that makes sense,
Right.
And you throw enough trash in there, it's gone.
It's
They're not itemizing this stuff, right?
Yeah, but I watch enough forensic files where they go to dumpsters and they
Yeah.
go to the landfill.
Well, sure, if they knew
and
which one, if they
know.
use this guy's information.
But I would think that they know a Sunday dump when it's picked up where it goes.
Yeah.
It's an easy find.
But
I
they
would
didn't
think.
did they even go and try to find anything? That's the question.
I don't know.
Unreal. And what it's been 1994, so we're coming up on 29 years. It's going to be 30 years pretty soon.
It's crazy.
It is. And it's just it'll never go
And like
away.
Jill says, she thinks about it every day. I just think that it's in the license plate number is just imprinted in your head. That's amazing.
I'll never forget it because it was just like, oh my gosh. And I was just so shocked, and I always remember numbers before names. So I don't know what it is about numbers with me, but I remember numbers before names. But one of the things that always stood out was the shiny rims on the car. And then, they did his route from there to his home, and he could have easily made it.
Yeah.
So,
That was a big part of it. It just
Yeah.
took minutes.
And you know what? The interesting thing is Marcia Clark really screwed up that timeline. She was trying to sell the fact that this happened at about 10:25 or something, or 10:27 that he was coming back. Well, you were there. You heard the noise. But 10:45 is when you saw him, right? Roughly, this would have been maybe 1 or 2 minutes after he peeled out of the
Correct.
condo in Bundy.
What time did you see it? 10?
Around
10:45.
10:45, 10:50,
10:45.
somewhere around there.
Right. And then when you saw it, you called immediately, right? With cell phones, weren't even. Did you?
I didn't have cell phone then.
So you went home.
I went home.
Okay, got it.
And think about it. Jill, you've never heard this story probably. First time you met Cato, but Cato was talking to a girl on the phone.
I remember that.
Yeah, and they were trying to figure out what they're going to do. And he goes, was there an earthquake?
Yeah.
And she goes, what are you talking about? No, nothing. He goes, man, are you sure this picture just shifted? Am I getting this right?
No,
There were,
completely.
there were
and plus,
thumps on the wall, right? Thumps on the wall.
I thumped the loud thing that made the picture move. But then again, obviously from they had to look at my phone records to kind of go. They're thinking, okay, Jill saw it. He's got the call, so I'm sure that all those times are like they're going. This is right on time.
And my time when I called into the police office, they record those calls. There's West LA Division,
Yeah.
and they have the time when I called in. And they, they if I didn't call in, they wouldn't have been at my home.
Right.
So
I read a report that said after you heard the news that there was a murder, that then you called in. But they came to you because they already had your information because you reported what you thought was a DUI?
well, what happened was I called in before midnight. They called me the next morning. I called them back. Yeah. So
I got you.
yeah. So I did talk to them twice. I think I talked to them before 7 a.m. because I remember I was up at 6 and I had to be at work. So I talked to them before 7 and I made an appointment to meet with them later that day.
Okay. And you calling, but they already had you on record. I was going to say they probably rushed to your house immediately.
I think I was done by 2.
Monday.
Yeah, that following day.
Hey,
I can't remember exactly.
Cato's
but
tight with Lang. He knew Van Adder. I know
Yeah.
Tom Lang through Cato. Such an impressive. He's like a freaking cowboy. He's almost like an astronaut.
Yeah,
when you
I
consider
like
what
Tom.
he's done, he's such a cool dude. After Van Adder interviewed you, think how many murders he's covered. Hundreds and hundreds and high profile ones. He had to feel good. We've got a witness right here that is going to help us. He's going to pin the timeline right here. Someone saw his Bronco, can identify it. This is kind of gold. I feel bad for those detectives,
Yeah.
because of Marcia Clark. She still could have not let her pride get in the way and had you testify.
Yeah, and Van Adder, I think his wife was from Indiana, so he ended up passing away there. But even after the trial, we had a relationship. I would talk to him a lot more than Tom. Wow. But he said, "Look, I'm gonna go talk to Marcia," and then we talked to Dave. He talked to David Kahn. So David was like, "No, we need to have her," because actually at that time they weren't sure if Marcia was going to try it or David. So they wanted
Right.
David because David had just won the Menendez case, but he got demoted to some smaller thing because think about it, I heard it was an election year. It's political. Garcetti said whoever wins this trial, because David Kahn wanted to be the next DA.
Right.
So if he won that trial, he could have potentially beat Garcetti. So it was a lot of political motive behind it too.
Always, right? Always, even if it's
But then
30 years
again, I
ago.
don't know why, even if Marcia Clark's the lead lawyer, why he still isn't helping out and they got Garden instead. I don't understand how it works. with that.
Overconfidence.
Yeah.
Clearly. I mean, that was a big part of it. If you just added up their missteps along the way from jury selection to where the trial was held when it could have been in Santa Monica instead of downtown LA.
Well, it's on record, Tom, that the jury didn't when you screen that no one liked her, and it should have been. If you really want to win, you'd go with how they have a
Yes,
jury.
that's why you have focus groups, man.
Focus groups
You
like
you
that.
test this, and it means something. That weird hair she had, she was off-putting, and she just wasn't used to being in the public. She wasn't.
No.
She had no command of a room, right? She didn't really have charisma. And then you get, when you're a federal or a state prosecutor, you have so much power that you think you're better than you are. Believe me, I know this because I'm writing a book right now that has something to do with the Justice Department, and just when you could see how they can overreach and what they can do, it's kind of scary. So they
blew
if
it.
you just added it all up, 5 different decisions they made that if they'd done something different, it could have changed it.
Like my friend actually was the prosecutor, Deputy DA Scott Gordon. He was doing all the domestic violence evidence. My daughter went to school with his son in preschool. So even he was like, he vouched for me. He says, "Look, I know her. She's awesome," to Marcia. She says, "Well, I don't need her." So even he did. He's now a judge.
Wow.
But he went back for me. It was all about Marcia brought me into her office, started yelling at me, throwing little things at me, and I had to get an attorney because I felt that I felt threatened by her.
Hey, did she know she was messing with a Hoosier? She's lucky you didn't throw down.
I remember
Knock her out.
I remember going to her office. She had the Jim Morrison poster behind her, and she said, "When this is over, we'll go out and have lunch."
That's what she said
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah, it's her treat, by the way. Yes.
Right. No kidding. And by the way, I have one more connection to the OJ thing. My daughter just got a Bronco.
Oh gosh,
I mean,
not white, right?
no, not white. Silver. How many times did you ride in OJ's Bronco? Did you?
Maybe I did an event. It was the Glazer, Paul Michael Glazer's wife.
Hutch or Starsky? One of those two,
Yeah,
right?
one of those. The wife had, I forgot her, Sherry Glazer, maybe? It was her big...
Elizabeth Glazer, pediatric AIDS.
I did the event with my daughter, and we all went in OJ's Bronco.
Wow.
That's probably one of the only times, maybe once, twice, that's it.
Quick question. Where's the OJ Bronco right now?
Didn't someone buy it?
Nope.
No.
Tom,
It's in a crime museum in Tennessee.
Wow.
I'm trying to get the curator or the owner of that museum. I'm just interested in the public, interest in it. If that's the biggest display in the whole museum.
But it's all crime related.
I think so.
Museum.
That'd be an interesting
Wait,
museum to go.
Tennessee. I think Tanya Brown went there with Jim Murray to do a little spot on that.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I understand that museum was broken into. I'm kidding. Crime.
Here we go. Could you imagine the faulty security system at the crime museum?
Oh my God.
That's a scandal.
That would be a
Scandal.
scandal.
You're coming on the
Hey,
show.
they stole stuff from our crime museum.
Yeah.
Any weird things pop up even years later? Hey, do I know your name? Have I seen you?
Oh yeah, a lot. And I
Welcome
think
to LA, right?
I think it's funny because on on the internet they have like they list people's homes where they live, like globe spotting, whatever. And unfortunately, there's a girl named Jill Shively married to a guy named Jerry, and they live in Glendale. But they have that as my house where I'm supposedly living. So they call me all the time, like, "Man, we're so pissed off. Why don't you correct it?" I said, "How can I correct it? You know?"
What am I supposed to do? I don't
Yeah.
print this map.
So-
Who was more mad? The other Jill Shively and her husband or Marcia Clark? More rage, veins bulging.
Exactly. So then I get people talk to me all the time. Like I just play it off. Like, no, I don't know who you're talking about. You know. So, but some people just try to they talk to you about the murders and get conversations out of you, and I'm like, it's not a happy topic.
It's not.
to
Was this,
talk
were,
about.
were you at Mercury at the time?
No,
Okay, you did. Okay.
No.
And then people at Mercury know
no,
who you.
they have no idea.
They don't know who you are.
No, I don't tell anyone. I
Oh.
don't talk to anyone about it at all.
I can't believe they don't know. They must know. They keep it quiet.
They must keep it quiet. Although I did work at an insurance agency at Aetna a few years ago, and this guy kept coming in them big meetings, are all of us together. Hey, you have a lot of stuff that happened in the past, a lot of baggage. Can we talk about it? I'm like, no.
Wouldn't it, you know what would be the height of irony? If Marcia Clark has Mercury Insurance and she's in an accident and the adjuster goes over there and needs her to testify, but you tell her, I don't need your testimony. Stay out of this.
That's right. Then you memorize her license plate.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, does Mercury have good rates for a 16-year-old female?
I think they do.
Oh, my God. Can I call you?
And Walmanisa. I don't do that, but
Can I talk to one of your guys?
sure.
If she ever gets an accident, that's what you'll get.
Yeah.
Hopefully, no fender benders.
No kidding. My daughter's doing a good job. You've met
That's
Ivana.
good.
Well, I know
She takes it very seriously.
Dave is clock watching.
Oh, Dave, do you have the Orlando Magic watch party you have to get to?
He's
He warned me. He goes, Zenner, I'm leaving at 4:30 whether you're done or not. Don't be late.
That's good.
That is funny.
I am honored. First of all, incredible. I was when Tom and I were talking about that. I couldn't wait to first of all meet you first time in 28 years,
Yeah.
and to hear your story. And I think it's compelling. And I think it was a huge mistake by not having you in there, regardless of money or not. Who cares? You are so credible.
Yep.
And
Thank
a
you. I
great guest
appreciate
on our
that.
1 Degree Scandals, and we are thankful.
And I echo that, and just you were doing the right thing. You were thrust into a situation that there's no handbook for,
Right.
and you did the best you could. And thank you for sharing the story because it is fascinating. And you know what? It's a horrible situation, but it is a big part of the history of this country and pop culture, and it'll never go away. And getting your perspective was awesome. So thank you.
I just keep hoping that somehow they'll catch him doing something else or something, you know. Or,
Well, there's that little thing called fate, right? And it already hit him once.
Yep.
Right? He did time.
9
and
years.
you know what? How do you live with that? And he's somehow found a way, but you know.
Because I think in his head he doesn't believe any of this. He's narcissistic.
So-
and
No,
I
he
think
has,
everybody
I
knows
think
that.
he has
Yeah.
convinced himself that he didn't do
he's
it
like
somehow.
a sociopath, I think, right?
Yeah. So
And before that, though, I mean, it's just unbelievable.
I
I
didn't-
mean, just he was a cool guy. I mean,
Yeah.
you wanted to be around him.
I watched him in all the movies, Naked Gun 33 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or, you know, he was handsome. You thought he was a good guy. But then afterwards, you see all these other things he did that weren't so great.
Right, and I just did an interview with Vlad TV, and Vlad TV has got a huge following. And Vlad, his quote was that he goes that they try to get OJ for the interview, and he just said that he believes that it'll go down. He'll die with never. No one ever knows.
100%.
No, yeah,
He'll
just die
never
with-
say it
he'll
because
never
it's a
say
sign
it,
of
die
weakness
with
on
it,
his
and,
part. He will not do it. He thinks there is a percentage that he's fooled, right? That will believe him. They're delusional or whatever. Just don't look at the evidence or the logic of this whole thing or buys into this theory that somebody else did it. But 100%, Cato, he's never going to tell anybody because if he can't make money on it, he's not going to say
But
it.
I think Rob Kardashian knew the truth.
Oh yeah, there's
know.
look at the
And
verdict.
Rosie Greer.
Look at the
Rosie
verdict.
Greer.
You didn't have to. You think Robert Kardashian was struggling with that fact that he knew
Mm-hmm.
because he was shocked when that verdict was read.
Yeah, you
Right.
can't make that. I think there is some form of guilt already, though. If anybody that writes a book, if I did it, I mean.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
sort of
Why would you write a book on
yeah.
that? Yeah.
So it's up to. I have my opinion. I stated before. So. Anyways, Jill, thanks again.
Thank
It
you
was
both for
fantastic.
having me. It was made it fun.
Okay, Jill, really appreciate. Share this with everybody except people that work at Mercury.
Okay.
Everybody else, I want the whole state of Indiana seeing this.
Actually, Mercury the planet.
Okay, that would be
Because
better.
our show is out of this world.
It is out of this world.
Perfect. That's it. We're done after that. For Jill Shively.
Thank
For
you.
the man, Cato Kalin, I'm Tom Zenner. Thank you for watching 1 Degree of Scandalous. Enjoy your week. We'll be back here in about 7 days. See you.